What's up, YouTube and all you Kingsong Gotway enthusiasts and all Shermanators? This is V coming at you to share with you my initial impression of the performance of the Gotway's long-awaited, much-anticipated X. 2020 has been a very busy year for EUC manufacturers, especially in the branching off and rolling out of new wheels. InMotion introduced us to the first ever suspension wheel, their V11. Kingsong soon followed with their S18. And as with most Gotway, but Gotway's fans, we waited with anticipation for their response to the suspension wheels. And for a while, it would seem the bitch slap they sustained from the rollout of the veteran Sherman left them shell-shocked. True to Gotway's fashion, they started scrambling around like kamikaze pilots, creating and recreating wheels at what would seem like breakneck speed, leaving us to wonder whether these wheels would indelibly impress us or leave us believing Gotway's knee-jerk response to InMotion and Kingsong's suspension wheels, and let's not forget veteran Sherman's beast of a wheel, would be nothing more than the same old shit but on a different day. As I serve as your tour guide in this video, the takeaway is, as much as I try to create scenarios one might find themselves with this wheel, everyone's riding style and taste are unique unto itself. So bear this in mind as you formulate your opinion of the content on whether this wheel is a strong contender in the suspension wheel category. And with that said, let's start from what should have been the beginning of this video. Okay, after Gotway's tutorial, let's see, I scraped this yesterday when I dropped the wheel on the rocks. But after watching the tutorial on how to bleed the suspension rod, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I just got pissed on. Yeah. Okay, so now that I have bled the rod, the suspension rod, I'm going to pump it up to the recommended PSI that Gotway recommends. So again, once you bleed the rod, you can move it from the housing. So I'm going to take this little teat here, see if it can focus, not, and insert it. One thing of note, make sure this relief valve right here is tight, because if it's not, you'll be pumping for days and you'll hear air escaping out from this end here. From this end here. So make sure this relief valve is tight. I failed to mention, once you have the proper amount of PSI in the chamber, prior to releasing the valve from the suspension rod, release the pressure from the pump by loosening the relief valve. And then this little end cap. Place it in here like so. Now that the wheel has a recommended PSI level, and I've since removed the stock pads and replaced them with the mono pads, courtesy of Vladimir of Mono Customized, let's see whether the X measures up to the perceived height. Because I'm a lightweight and not the right weight of an average guy, I decided to test the adjusted suspensions with two 20-pound weights, giving me a max weight of 175 pounds. At no time during this demonstration did the suspensions bottom out or make that clanking noise they made prior to the proper PSI adjustment. Okay. Didn't make any clinking noise, didn't bottom out with 20 pounds added to my weight. When I get back to the house, what I'll do is I'll basically weigh myself with what I have on and add the 20 pounds. Now I'm grabbing the other 20 pounds, which will give me 40 extra pounds of weight. I got 40 extra pounds to my weight, and I'm gonna pop off the curb and see how. Okay, cool. Okay. Now that the crucial conditions are met for optimal gliding pleasure, let's get into the crux of this video. Although the X handled as I suspected it should while riding over roots and down tree limbs, the Kinder tire, in my opinion, isn't conducive for this type of substrate. Although the tire will do just fine, a more robust off-road tire would be ideal. Also, noteworthy of mention, the exposed suspension rods can pose a problem given the proper scenario. Because certain type off-roading consists of brush, loose rocks, and dust, the exposed suspension rods and housing are more susceptible to damage given the environment, as was the case when I dropped the wheel and it fell on rocks, damaging a small section of the suspension housing. Further, dirt particles can sneak past the seals of the suspension rods and contaminate the internal parts. So unless regular cleaning and maintenance of suspensions is your thing, this doesn't apply to you. But for those of us whose bank account isn't set up that way, you've been warned. Here I show how the suspension responds to divots and gravel, which I must say was quite the positive experience given the fact my ankle wanted nothing more than to be home soaking in Epsom salt. Of note, the slight humming noise you hear in the background is the X's fan, which I find runs incessantly while riding. As I tried to twist and maneuver my body to push the X through the ridges of this dirt-impacted hill, my left ankle decided it had had enough of me twisting and turning and gave out just before reaching the top. I guess I should have known trouble was afoot. Throughout the course of me taking the X on hills, the 3500 watt motor never grinded, grunted, nor hesitated to launch me forward. With the assist of the monopads, the X was flawless in its ability to climb several different hills with the same results. Okay. Ooh, sorry about that. I hit a loose twig and almost lost my balance, but nonetheless, I made it up. Okay, let's see. That's what it looks like. Although I couldn't get a good angle as to how steep this hill was, the monopads made scaling it effortlessly. The X's weight and stability while in motion works with you and not against you, making it very responsive and an easy wheel to control. But let me preface this by saying, in my opinion. This path measured 8.5 feet wide, and taking tight turns within these perimeters without scraping the pegs was a breeze. This unsuspecting imperfection in the roadway that caused me to launch a couple of inches in the air is one of those hidden dangers for non-suspension wheels that can cause someone to lose control if they're not paying attention. The X absorbed this minor flaw and kept it moving, upright I might add. Throwing my weight around while carving was done with little to no effort. The wheel was responsive to my furtive movement, making it hard to believe I was riding an 85-pound X and not my 50-pound MSX. In closing, as I ride into the sunset to glide another day, the burning questions that seems to be on the minds of some EUC enthusiasts is whether the Gotway EX is worth the investment. Well, in order to make that decision, one must ask oneself, is it practical? Does the characteristic flaws outweigh its benefits? And does the key features outshine its competitors? From a practical standpoint, owning a suspension wheel will no doubt be a good investment for those individuals that have to deal with less than sturdy road conditions. And although the exposed suspension rods in the X can lend itself to minor issues, in my opinion, it isn't ideal for off-roading. However, it can be done. Also, it comes to no surprise that Gotway's X characteristic flaws mirror every Gotway's wheel since the beginning of its inception. Whether these flaws can be overlooked in exchange for its performance is the decision every Gotway EUC owner had to face. And because the carrot before the horse here is its performance, it would seem the benefit outweighs the flaws. Lastly, the key features of the X outshines its competitors. Focusing on the externals, Gotway EX is the most powerful suspension wheel of the three. The large battery and motor outperforms the competition in that regards, which places it in a different class of suspension wheels. InMotion V11 is coined the range suspension wheel, while Kingsong S18 the sportier. Due to its size, the X can be seen as the workhorse of the three, yet versatile enough to be crowned a range wheel, and to some extent, with its ease and handling, can easily assume the title as sportier in nature. So as you ponder whether Gotway EX is the right wheel for you, just remember, no matter your decision, the X with all its characteristic flaws reigns supreme in its performance category and will deliver a suspension ride suitable to that of a range wheel and that of a sportier wheel. And although we can safely say it's the same old shit with Gotway, it is a different day. So with that being said, show your girl some love. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, good, bad, or indifferent. So until next time, guys, deuces.